Alright, so this is the Final Cut Pro tutorial for people who are used to Premiere and you're not patient enough to sit through really long tutorials and you basically want to teach yourself. This is me showing you like where to start off because I don't have the patience to sit through these hour-long tutorials that people make, even though they're like extremely good and extremely helpful. I can't sit through that, and I guess maybe you can't either. So I'm going to show you the basics of the interface of the file management, and I'm going to make a really short, like 5-second video and export it to show you how that process works in general. But this is basically so you can teach yourself, and hopefully this helps you out. So starting with the basic user interface, I'm going to go over this real quickly and then I'm going to do it again when I have media in here because it's going to make more sense then. First thing I want you to do is make it full screen because it's less distracting, and go up here to these buttons and make sure they're all enabled. All three of them, make sure they're all purple. That turns all the interface elements on, and it should look roughly like this. Things might be like, moved around a little bit differently, but generally it should be organized in this way. This is like your effects properties and stuff. Well, I can show you. Maybe not. I guess not. I'll show you in a minute. But this is like your effects properties in Premiere. This is your preview. This is like your media browser, and this is your timeline. Pretty simple. It's laid out very similarly. Of course, up here you've got your menu bar and stuff, but we don't even have to worry about that right now. Here you've got your pointer tools, and these options here control stuff in the timeline, and I'll show you that in a minute as well. Here's the effects controls. I guess clicking on the timeline enabled that, but we won't worry about that yet either. I'm going to talk real quick about file management because it's pretty important to understand how they're different. In Premiere, you basically have to do everything yourself, and that often results, at least for me, in disorganization. I've often lost a lot of video files after the fact because I didn't consolidate everything the right way, and yeah, it just didn't work out. So Final Cut stores everything in libraries, or at least by default it does. These are just folders with a .fcp bundle extension. So like if you make a folder, or if you have a folder, I'm just going to call it test. If you add .fcp bundle on it, Mac OS will recognize that it's supposed to be associated with Final Cut, and it'll just make it into one. But the proper way to make libraries is file, new, library. I'm not gonna worry with that right now because I have one. As you just seen, I'm gonna open this, and it'll take you back to like your last project you were working on. I have a lot of audio here, but this is your media. This gives you an idea of what things look like when editing a video. But as you can see, this is kind of a mess. When you have a lot of stuff in here, this is hard to look at, right? So you can press that and you get a more organized list type view. This is really useful at times. This is really useful at times. So that's a nice thing to know about right there. These buttons down here, this is just like your automatic, what are you doing? What is this? Select. This is what I want. So see how my pointer is acting basically like it would in Premiere. If you press this, it's automatic scrubbing. So you see the video scrubbing through itself. This will add sound to it. So it'll scrub through the sound. This enables snapping, so I don't like, see how that snaps to it? It just makes things snap. This is the effects panel, which is weird, especially compared to Premiere. I don't know why the effects are in this weird place, but that's where they are. And this is where the transitions are. Okay, so now I'm gonna make a quick little, like, 5-second video. And to do that, I'm gonna make a new event. I don't think I talked about this, but you have libraries, then you have events, then you have projects. So library is like the main folder. That's this. And then inside here, you can have a bunch of events. And events are like, if you're gonna make a video about, like if you're gonna review a game controller, you would make an event for that game controller review. And then, let's see here. So like this demo video, this is an event. And then within this event, there's a project. This project is the same as a timeline in Premiere, pretty much. So, library, event, project. I don't know why it's organized that way, but it is. So I'm going to make a new event for this little demo video. Demo video 2. And now we have our untitled project, which is our timeline equivalent. I mean our sequence equivalent. It's blank, so there's nothing here. So we need to import our media, and to do that, we just right click and import media. If you stick an SD card into your computer, this will probably pop up automatically, and it'll say cameras, and it'll show your SD card and all that. But I'm just picking it from a file, so I've got these two things prepared. Take a look at these. These are some really good options to explore later on. Basically, it's just telling you what to do with the media. By default, it organizes it into the Final Cut library, consolidates everything so that you don't lose things later. But you can tell it to leave the files in place and just link to them like you would in Premiere. But the default options are what we want for now. So I'm going to import these two things. Now I have a video, and I have the audio interface audio from, like, this is the camera audio, this is the audio interface audio. So click on your video and you can drag it into your sequence. To zoom, you can press your command and plus and minus. I don't know of a better way to do that unless you have the trackpad, which you can pinch zoom, I believe. But it is ass backwards in my opinion. I don't know. You should be able to hold a button and move the mouse, but unless you have an Apple mouse, I don't think you can do that. Something I want to caution you about, something I didn't figure out for a while. If you're trying to drag a video into your sequence, if you just grab it, you'll notice you can't drag it. It gives you this weird little like selection thing, and then if you try to do it again, it'll just keep selecting that little part, and you can actually drag that part out of the video and it'll just cut that selected part out. But that's not what we want. So if you click on it again and press X, it'll select the whole thing, and that's how you fix that issue. So I'm gonna drag my audio in here as well. Not gonna worry about lining that up just yet. Actually, I guess I will. Just gonna do this the quick, ugly way. Life is to serve as a. That sounds pretty good. And just gonna extend that, and I need to turn snapping on. This is what snapping does. Oh, not that. See how it'll snap to the end there? Just delete that. So if I turn audio, that's what that does again. Here are your different pointer tools. I think I said that before, but you know, it's got your key commands to get to them. So at this point in Final Cut, when I'm editing a video, I would usually select both of these and nest them, and then I would apply a color grade to the files inside the nest, and I would also equalize the audio inside the nest, and then I would come out of the nest and cut it up. That's the workflow I'm going to imitate. So you can do basically the same thing, but there's different terminologies here. So I'm going to select both of these, right click it, and new compound clip. In Final Cut, a compound clip is the equivalent of a nest in Premiere. So I still use Premiere terminology. I just say main nest, enter, and now you can see it just made it into its own little thing. You can double click into it and it works pretty much like Premiere at that point. The thing that this does that is different than Premiere is the audio is a little bit weird. As you can see here, this is the file from my studio microphone, the one I'm talking into here on my desk. But this video file has scratch audio from my camera, but I don't want that. But you can't just right click it and mute it or something. You can right click it and say expand audio, and so you can see the audio there. You can see like there is something attached. You can expand audio components, which like, I think you can delete it. Yeah, you can delete it. We don't want to do that. I don't like to destructively edit if I can help it. Final Cut has what's called audio and video roles. Click on your video or audio file and go up here, click the little speaker, and over here you can see there's audio configuration. Now this is really important because if you have a gaming channel, like if you're recording stuff with OBS or some other program that'll put multiple audio channels into a single video file, they're not going to show up by default. So you're going to have to go into here and you'll have to check them. They'll all be here, but only the first one will be enabled by default. So you'll have to check them in. And so this one has the audio from my camera, so I can change its role to something different. So I call this on camera scratch audio, and then here I call it studio mic. And you can keep things organized like that. There's an index here, and you can go to roles, and you can like disable and enable things. And this is really useful when you're editing, because you can quickly disable all of something to see how something sounds. So at this point, considering that we're inside the main nest, I'm not going to cut anything up, but rather I'm going to apply a color grade. It's worth noting that if you use Premiere, you're probably used to using adjustment layers for this kind of thing. Final Cut does not have adjustment layers in the same sense. That's frustrating, and there is a workaround for it. There's plenty of people who have made plugins that pretty much imitate an adjustment layer. I would recommend Googling Alex 4D adjustment layer. If you go up here to your media browser portion of your window and click this one, this is the titles, you can get these plugins that imitate an adjustment layer. And you can then apply all your color effects and whatnot to this, and it'll work just like it would in Premiere. I'm going to delete that. You can Google that and get it if you want, but I'm going to show you like the more proper way to do it, which is doing it within the nest basically. So you would select your video. Well, first of all, I'm going to not use the audio from there. So select your video and then go here. This is the color tab, I think. I don't know if that's what it's called, but it gives you all your color options. At this point, I don't really need the media browser, so I'm just gonna turn that off. If you go here to view, you got like some pretty advanced options like video scopes. I'm gonna use this to get my black level right. And I'm not a professional, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I know enough to make things look decent. That's a pretty big difference right there. So if you're into really advanced things, you can add... Whoops, that's not what I meant to click. You can add color wheels and curves and HSL things. But I'm going to stick with the defaults for the sake of time. Also, once you apply your color grade in here, I would then just apply my audio effects processing. So that's, again, this effects tab. Go down to audio. Like for voice, I would usually add a compressor, just drag it onto there. You'll see it shows up here. Voice, let's see, de-esser. And you would build out your stuff. For every effect, you'll have this little button. That's where you can access the interface of that particular effect. And they are good effects too. I'm using the ones from Logic, I think. I don't know if you actually have to have Logic installed or purchased to use those. Probably not, but yeah, it has good effects built in. So now that we've done our processing and stuff, I'm gonna go back out of here, and you'll see. Okay, so this video's only purpose in life is to serve as a demo. So yeah, that's that. We have our audio, it works like it should, sounds like it should. Now we can cut the video. So you got a pretty much Premiere-ish set of tools. You can grab it by either end and do that. You can grab this and adjust the audio gain. Get that back to 0. After you're done editing all of your stuff, you can then share the video. So that's what this button is. Usually you would hit master file. The thing about sharing in Final Cut is there's not a lot of options. If you have compressor, this is fixed, so you would send it to compressor. Or rather, I should say it's not an option. It's not a problem if you have compressor. I'm gonna delete this. So this is the thing we just sent to it. Still loading everything in. The way you get it to output is click file name and add. And it's got a bunch of built-in presets. I usually use the up to 4K thing for YouTube. You can click OK. And if you go over here to video, it'll give you a bunch of options, like media encoder would for Premiere. Got audio options as well, and then you would just start batch. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it within Final Cut. Close, please. Thank you. So, share master file. You see, not much settings here. You can also add destination, and you can add compressor presets in here. So what I've done is I made it where I can just render and upload to my YouTube channels at the same time, which is pretty convenient. I like that a lot. I'm just going to render it out with the YouTube demo settings, or YouTube default settings, to the desktop. Save, and you see it'll just go ahead and render it out right here. And it's done. You can open it, or I click close, but it's right here. Okay, so this video's only purpose in life is to serve as a demo. Yep, that's that. That's basically how Final Cut works. Honestly, the menu bar, the options in here, I use very little. In just normal editing, it's designed that way. It's not like Premiere where you're deep in menus all the time. It's largely keyboard, mouse, shortcuts. There's just not a deep interface to go into like there is for Premiere. So hopefully that helped. Yeah, hope to see you in the next video.